Hi, Freud.
Hello, Archie.
Doing my local history project. Was wondering if you knew anything about Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon. The name sounds awful familiar.
Yeah.
I think he was president, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. You'd like to know what I remember about him? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I remember that he was the only president. I shouldn't say the only, but I remember him leaving office because of illegal activities that he was directly linked to.
Yeah.
And the Watergate scandal, breaking into the Democratic headquarters in the Watergate Hotel in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And there was still a lot of backdoor political stuff going on, and there were some illegal things that they did,
Yeah.
and it caught up with him.
So, do you think that he was for the better, or?
I think he was a good president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he was a pretty good president.
Nice.
But I think he let the power, the power that he had get
Yeah.
to him to think that he was above the law and he could do anything that he wanted.
I see.
That's what I think happened to him.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I was in high school.
Oh,
when that
really?
happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
in the '70s, early '70s.
Yeah.
I was sophomore. I was a sophomore, freshman, sophomore in high school then.
Oh,
And,
holy crap.
so I do remember that
Yeah.
happening.
Nice.
And I remember him leaving office and that, and I remember his vice president, Spiro Agnew, was, I don't remember the exact charges, but he left office for similar
Oh, really?
illegal activities. And then, when that happened, Agnew left, and then Gerald Ford, where he was next in line
Right.
from Congress,
Yeah.
he stepped in to be vice president.
Yeah.
And then when Nixon left, Ford became president, and that, by him doing that, it allowed Gerald Ford to become the only president that we've never elected.
Yeah.
Never elected directly. He was elected to his position in Congress, but he didn't.
Oh.
But he became president without actually being elected by the people in the presidential election.
So he got pretty lucky then.
Yep, just in the right place at the right time.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
What about the oil shocks in '73?
The Arab oil embargo, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
I remember I grew up in Portland, and we lived in a big house in Portland. It had 7 bedrooms.
Holy.
I have 6 brothers, so we all had.
Wow.
Actually, it was 6 brothers. I have 5 brothers. There were 6 boys in a family.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all had a bedroom of our own. It was great.
Yeah.
But when we bought the house, my parents bought the house, heating oil was 18 cents a gallon. And
That's sweet.
I remember after that oil embargo, this is about 1970.
Yeah.
When we bought the house, and then
Yeah.
by 1973, I think was the Arab oil embargo.
Yeah.
73, 74. Price of heating oil had doubled. Okay,
Oh.
now 18 to 36 cents seems like a bargain today,
Right.
but I'll tell you, think of it doubling today, what that
Right.
would do to people.
Yeah.
So
That would
we
be
wound up.
crazy.
My parents, we wound up moving out of that house simply because it was just
Too
it was a
much.
great place to live,
Yeah.
but it was just the price, and back in the house was built in 1903, so it wasn't. It was built in a time when heating oil was cheap.
Right.
And it
Right.
wasn't a concern. So insulation in the walls, it just wasn't built to
Properly.
today's standards
Right.
for energy efficiency.
Yeah.
So it was a drain.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the oil spill that's happening now, isn't it?
Well, what's happening now, the prices are going up because of the people who control the prices. The speculators really
Yeah.
control the prices,
Yeah.
and I hope they all have big problems later on.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, because they're causing problems for us, I believe. That's why.
I think so
but
too.
The unrest in the Middle East,
Yeah.
where most of our oil comes from, that's what's causing prices to go up.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of politics involved, and and the speculators on the stock market.
Yeah.
The stock market doesn't like uncertainty, and there's a lot of uncertainty. So when
Oh,
that
yeah.
happens, prices go up.
Of course.
But getting back to 1973, I remember waiting in line for gasoline. I remember gasoline rationing
Oh,
You know,
really?
if your license plate ended in an even number,
Yeah.
you bought fuel on a certain day. If it ended in an odd number, you bought fuel on another day.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I remember having to wait in line for fuel.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so, but it was OPEC that all of a sudden said, well, we're not gonna send any more oil to you guys.
Yeah.
And that's what caused the problems.
Wow, that's weird how they did that like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That must have been kind of a pain.
Yeah, it didn't really last
Too
a whole
long.
long period of time.
Yeah.
You know, it came and it went. And of course, you know, you kind of forget about the bad stuff. You know,
Right.
when I was young, you know, I didn't,
Yeah.
you know, it would affect me probably more now that I'm older.
Yeah.
You know, if I was in charge of a family, in charge of, you know, like I am now, that type of situation would have bothered me more than it did when I was a kid. But I remember going through that, having to wait in line and
Yeah.
prices going up. And I remember as a result of that, prices started climbing. I remember when I was going to college, you know, I had a vehicle, and I remember thinking the price hit like $1.20.
And here we are now.
$1.15 to $1.20. I'm
almost
thinking,
$4.
how are we gonna do this? This is so
Right.
expensive. This is gonna kill us. You know, and look what it is now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Almost
So,
$4.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. It's crazy.
Yep. Yep. But it's gonna keep going up. You know, that's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
That's why I'd
Just-
like to see more ways looking into alternative fuels, and you know, and ethanol seems like a great way to do that.
Yeah.
But until you do it, you don't realize what some of the other side effects are, such as the price. Now, ethanol is made from corn.
Right.
You know, and a lot of our
What
food
about that
is corn-based.
oils?
The oil stuff.
Oh, that's getting off topic.
No, okay, that's okay. But you know, ethanol, it's
Ethanol.
corn.
Right.
So because we're using using corn to make ethanol to put into our fuel,
Yeah.
it's causing the price of corn to go up, which is good for the farmers.
Right.
But it's bad for consumers because everything that's corn-based is going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
And when demand goes up, price goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. How did that affect everything for the oil shock? Everyone, like, get uproared about it, or
You mean with ethanol?
No.
Or
with the oil?
oh, the oil embargo.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, yeah, people were mad.
Yeah.
People were mad. People were upset.
Yeah.
Because there really wasn't any reason for it. I mean, other than OPEC, you know, getting their nose out of joint or whatever. I don't know. I don't really remember the politics behind it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
why it happened. Obviously, we ticked them off.
Right.
Did something there. They said, well, we're going to show America. You know, that sort of thing. And, you know, they still have us, you know?
Yep.
They still have us,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
you know, right there. They could,
Yeah.
they're leading us along, you know, they might as well put a ring through our noses and lead us around.
Yeah.
They really
Yeah.
should. Because
Yeah.
they still, we cannot, right now, we are too dependent on those guys.
Right.
And that's what's scary,
Yeah.
you know, and that's
Yeah.
why we're over there. That's exactly why we're there,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Depend all on
Yeah,
that.
I should say not the only reason, but, you know, I would like to think that our guys over there fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan to get rid of the terrorist threat,
Yeah.
but also to get different style government, democracy,
Right.
maybe a bonus, maybe.
Maybe.
But, you know, an underlying reason is oil.
Right.
Yeah, that's certainly the contributing factor.
That's
to that.
definitely a big
Yep.
deal over
Mhm.
there. You remember anything about Jimmy Carter?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think he was a very good president.
No.
He, one thing I helped elect him, and when I turned 18, it was the first presidential election that 18-year-olds could vote in.
Yeah.
And I remember voting and getting in that and thinking, wow. You know, it was just
Right.
just kind of a cool feeling. You know, so it was the first presidential election that 18-year-olds could vote in.
Right.
And I participated.
That's cool.
Because I just turned 18.
Yeah.
And, you know, Jimmy Carter kind of appealed to me because he wasn't, you know, a Washington insider.
Yeah.
And he came from Georgia, and they had turned some things around in Georgia. And I remember thinking, well, if he could turn around in Georgia, maybe he could, you know, keep things going. in the
Right.
United States. But as it turned out, he wasn't a very strong president. But the one thing I remember him saying, you know, having grown up in the Cold War, you know, between the United States and Russia,
Yeah.
was that you know, the Russians would take care of themselves. And I thought, oh, I wonder what he means by that. But what he meant was they couldn't sustain their level of defense, you know, financially.
Right.
They just couldn't, you know, their style of government, the communism was, you know, you could see the cracks in the armor by then, that communism was not going to be popular in the way that their government would continue.
Oh, yeah.
And they, you know, and I remember him saying they'll take care of themselves, and they did. You know,
Yeah.
they're not the threat that they were.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
But growing up with the Cold War, I mean, that was, you know, you've grown up with the conflict in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with Vietnam and the Cold War.
Yeah.
You know, just a little different perspective.
How was? You remember anything about that Cold War?
Yeah, I remember, you know, kindergarten, first grade. I remember having bomb drills.
Whoa.
Like, you know, you have your fire drills and
Yeah.
stuff here. I
Bomb
remember hiding
drills.
under my desk.
Holy crap.
You know, kindergarten.
That's
You
crazy.
know, they do it, and we'd get down under the desk, put our hands up over our heads, and just practice doing that.
Yeah.
As
Wow.
if, you know, if a nuclear
I
bomb
couldn't
landed on us,
imagine.
I don't think that would have helped much.
No, I don't think so.
No,
But-
but, you know, that's what we did.
Yeah.
You know, so, I remember a kid next to me, big kid, sweating his brains out one time. We're just under there for a minute. He got up, he was all sweaty, and I'm looking at him, like, are you scared? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's funny.
I bet I think he was upset.
Yeah.
You know, thinking
Oh, I
back about
bet.
it.
I
And I
bet.
remember the teacher saying, "Oh, it's okay, everybody relax," sort of thing. But,
Yeah. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Can't
Yeah.
believe that. I couldn't imagine doing a bomb drill.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's how we. You know, that was what it was. You know, and
Yeah.
you just did it. It's like today we have. You know, you practice for a lockdown.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
somebody going cuckoo and doing something stupid in the school. You know.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
practice for that sort of thing. You know, you do what you have to in the times that are
Right.
there. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about towards the end of the Cold War with Reagan?
I'm sorry. The end of it.
Ronald Reagan. Yeah.
Okay, Reagan. Now, I remember, you know, this being Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall, and I remember them knocking down the Berlin Wall and thinking, wow, this is great. You know, this is what a great thing to have happen.
Yeah.
And I have a piece of it at home, very small piece
Of.
the Berlin Wall.
Really?
A former student of mine,
Yeah.
you know, that I had years ago, went in the army, and he was stationed in Germany. And
Wow.
his parents went over to visit him.
Yeah.
And his parents were teachers in the school district, and I knew they were going over. And he brought back, and we asked him, he brought back pieces of the Berlin Wall.
That's
And
awesome.
that's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
Just a piece of concrete with a little bit of paint on it.
Yeah.
And you can't tell what it was, really,
Right.
but
That's cool
it
though.
was kind of neat. And I remember Reagan, you know, before he and Gorbachev met in Iceland,
Yeah.
they had a summit meeting, Reykjavik, Iceland. And I was watching the news, and I saw, you know, Reagan, they came out to speak to the reporters, and I thought, the look on Ronald Reagan's face, it looked like he was ecstatic to me.
Right.
And I'm thinking, something big's going on here. You know, this is not normal. Something's
Yeah.
happening. Shortly after that, that's when the communism, you know, started to fall, and you know, that political change occurred. And I always thought how it struck me. I don't know if anybody else noticed or not, but I thought he knew. I said something's going to happen, you know, and it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Just by the look on his face.
Yeah.
And I really like, you know, I like Ronald Reagan, because he could get up there and he could tell jokes, you know, make people laugh,
So,
and
pretty
you know,
outgoing.
easygoing guy.
Yeah.
But he was good. He was good at what he did.
Yeah.
And you know, I remember when he was shot. I was in college
That's-
when he was shot,
Yeah.
and I remember thinking, I can't repeat what I was thinking because we're on camera.
Right,
Okay,
right.
but you know, and I thought,
Yeah.
what? You know,
Yeah, that's crazy. That
Yeah.
sucks.
yeah.
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 He got shot. Yeah. I
And
knew
I thought,
that.
yeah, we had several attempts at it. Gerald Ford had a couple attempts on his life, you know, in that time period, and they weren't,
Wow.
you know, they really weren't able to get real close, but they were some threats.
So everyone was happy about the wall, Berlin Wall, being taken
Yeah,
down.
I think so. You know,
Yeah.
well, especially me, I was just glad that it happened. It just seemed to be such a, like they were the enemy. You know, the communists were the enemy,
And then,
and the threat that they were gonna, you know, send bombs on us.
Yeah.
You know,
Then they
and
took
you always
over.
had that over your head. You know.
Yeah.
You really did. No, I don't think it. You know, that type of, you know, that worry as much as theirs as that type of worry is there. But you know, we're always thinking, all right, you know, what are these terrorists going to do? Or Are
Right.
they going to strike? Sort of thing. But,
Right.
um,
Yep. You know anything about the Clinton scandals?
Yeah, you know, by then, you know what? I was getting jaded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm thinking, here we go again. You know, these political folks who are out of touch with regular people.
Yeah.
You know, and I know they were involved in, I guess it was land deals or something, you know, and I just kind of tuned it out, I think.
Oh,
I really did. I'd had enough. And I think at that point,
You just.
I kind of tuned things out for a while
Yeah.
and didn't, you know, I thought, these jerks.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And Clinton was another guy, kind of like Jimmy Carter, when he was a new guy coming in, you know, maybe change some things.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I guess what my kind of feeling was is, as you know, you hear of these scandals going on, but he didn't put first what he said he was going to.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the welfare of the country, you know, the best interest of the country.
Right.
You know, and I'm thinking he's using his position to line his pockets, as so many of those guys do.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and I really think, you know, we're finding out today that they aren't in touch.
No.
They don't know what it's like to be right here with us right now.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
No, they don't.
They don't have a clue.
No.
And, yeah, could lead to some problems down the road, but who
Could,
knows?
yeah.
Hopefully not, but, you know, but I was disappointed with the Clintons.
Yeah.
Really disappointed. You know, and then when, you know, all the shenanigans going on there in the White House with Bill Clinton.
Right.
You know, later on, it was just to me, it was disrespectful, ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure if they opened up everybody else's background, there'd be other stuff I'd be disappointed with too. But,
Oh, probably.
You know, but they are people.
Yeah.
And, you know, they are fallible, and you know, they're certainly not perfect.
Right. No one's
But,
perfect.
yeah, but to use, I feel like to use their position.
Right.
For gain.
Yeah, that
is wrong.
Yeah, that is wrong.
But
So.
good on, you know, foreign affairs.
Yeah.
You know, international stuff. He was very good.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting.
But you know, you reach a time now. I'm more interested in what's going on now.
Now.
You know, yeah, there was a time period you kind of say, heck with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've always voted. You know,
Okay.
Always voted. Always tried to participate.
Yeah.
But you just reach a point. sometimes.
Kind of half there, kind of half
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So 9/11, how did that
Wow. We were
affect you?
We were right here in this. Well, I was next door with my physics class.
Yeah.
And a teacher had retired a few years ago. The old graphics teacher, Chuck Manson, was across the hall, and he had his radio on in the classroom.
Yeah.
He came over and said, "Hey, I just heard on the radio a plane crashed in the World Trade Center." So we came in here, put the TV on,
Yeah.
and it was on the news, and there it was. You know, the tower burning, and you're looking at it thinking, "Oh my goodness, you know, what a terrible accident to have happen."
Right.
And then, you know, some of the guys kids were all sitting here watching it, and within a few minutes, you know, we're thinking, it's a beautiful, clear day. There's really no reason why. Why would a plane fly into a building on such a beautiful, clear day? And then with that, we watched the second plane hit.
Oh yeah.
And then you're going, oh my God, that was no accident.
No.
You know, then you knew that was no accident.
Right.
And,
It's like wow.
Yep. And then as you know, the news started, we had Ray Dion, who's passed away, but was he started the broadcasting program. And I'm on the phone with him. Hey, put channel 7 on, put channel 5, and he's flipping through the channels, and you know, we're watching what's
Yeah.
going on, and then you realize, you know, a lot of questions about, and then the news reports start
yeah.
coming in about what's happening, and
Right.
all the planes being grounded, and
That was
you know,
a pretty big commotion.
and it was just such a. I mean, by the end of the day, I was just drained,
Yeah.
just emotionally drained.
I remember when I was in middle. I think I was in middle school now.
Yeah, yeah. We sat here all day and watched it.
Yep.
You know, and I remember watching when the first tower collapsed.
Yep.
You know, we're watching TV and you're
Right.
looking at it and you see this
Sorry
big.
to intrude.
Sorry. You see this big cloud of dirt, dust. I'm thinking, it was like you couldn't believe it. You couldn't believe what was happening,
Right.
what you were seeing.
Yeah.
And I'm watching, you know, right up here, watching and looking at this huge cloud of dust and dirt.
Can't
And
even-
I'm thinking, geez, I wonder what happened there.
Right.
You know, and we're looking at the TV, you see one tower, and you see this cloud of dust, and it just didn't sink in about what happened. And then all of a sudden, Dan Rather, who's doing the CBS News, says, we've just gotten word that the first tower, one of the towers collapsed.
That's crazy
And
how
you're
they
going,
got it.
and you're going,
Yeah.
what? Is that what that was? You know, exactly like that.
Yeah.
And then the second one went, and then you knew what happened then.
Yeah.
And it was just like all of a sudden they're gone. All the towers
Just
are gone,
gone.
and everybody's just gone. You know, what just happened? And,
Right, yeah.
You know, and then I remember we had soccer practice that night, and it was just like you're a bunch of zombies going through. We had a game the next day.
What?
You know, we had a game the following day. Some schools canceled stuff. Some school we decided, well, we keep going, and it was, we played the game, and it was like both teams were just out there, and it was just, you know, we're just knocking the ball around, and
That's,
you know, we won. I remember we won 1-0,
yeah.
and it was just, it was like, who cares? You know,
Yeah.
we won a game, should have been very happy, but we went home, and it was just, oh,
They did.
man, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I remember after that, you know, telling my guys, I said, things aren't going to be the same.
No.
You know, things will not be the same after this.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been.
No.
It really hasn't been.
No.
In fact, our goalkeeper from the year before graduated, and he was there in New York City. He went to NYU, studying finance, NYU.
That's crazy.
And he watched it happen from his dorm room. You know,
Nice.
I emailed him back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
I had a cousin who was on the runway at LaGuardia Airport, going to take off. They could see what was happening from LaGuardia Airport,
Holy crap.
and they said the plane never took off. It just taxied back,
Yeah.
back to the, and then they went home. Another cousin, cousins live in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And another cousin, his wife is a nurse, and they flew National Guard helicopters, you know,
Yeah.
from southern Connecticut, and they landed. There's an area where they landed by the Brooklyn Bridge,
Yeah.
thinking there was going to be thousands of casualties, and they had all this medical evacuation stuff ready to go. There's nobody, hardly anybody that they had. They didn't wind up evacuating anybody from those things.
Wow.
They were ready. They were responding to figuring there would be thousands of people hurt,
Yeah.
and there was just nothing.
Not a thing.
He sent me pictures, you know, and that his wife took from the helicopter as they're landing.
Yeah.
And they landed, and there's about a dozen helicopters. They are ready to go, and all these people just standing around, you know, doctors and nurses and paramedics and nothing.
Didn't even. They
Didn't
wanted
even need them. They went home.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't need them.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
And I remember we traveled to Caribou to play that following Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, we had, the bus driver had flags on the bus, on the front. We stopped in Holton, and there was a woman there collecting signatures just on this big board that they were just gonna send to New York City for condolences or something, you
So
know,
the-
so all the guys and team signed that.
That's cool.
And, I mean, you know, and she,
Yep.
so it was just a very, very different time.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing has really been
No.
the same since then.
No, you know, it's, especially when you're trying to fly, go through the airport. I mean,
Yeah,
that's one of the
that's-
big changes, you know.
They make that. You have to go
Flying
like.
used to be fun.
you
Now
have
it's,
to go like 2 or 3
No.
checks.
yeah, now it's really stressful, you know, to get somewhere, especially when you're
I've
traveling
never
with
flown a
kids.
plane before, but
Yeah, I never flew till I got to college.
yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
but I used to love it. You know, now you get there, it's just a pain in the butt, you know.
Yeah. So, W. Bush,
George 1 or George 2?
George.
The
two.
first George or the second George?
Second George.
Okay. What do I think about him? Well, you know, when you hear about what went on in the National Guard,
Yeah.
you know, with him, that he really didn't serve as much. It kind of, again, one of those things where somebody's just doing something to put a, you know, kind of a line on their resume to make it look better.
Right.
But I think, that's kind of hard, because I hate that, you know, Saddam Hussein was a bad man,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm glad to see him gone. But the time and the money and the expense, the lives that were lost to get him out,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's, the time will tell if that was a good thing or not.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it
time
may
will
be,
tell.
it may be in 50 years that people are gonna look back and say, the US going in and doing that was the best thing that ever could have happened.
Yeah.
Or
the worst.
Or it could have been just a waste of time.
Right.
You know, and I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I remember when our troops were, you know, you knew it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know, you knew it was gonna happen, and I just, to jump into something like that, I was very apprehensive about having us do that. But I support our guys there, you know, the guys
Yeah.
that are doing it. And, I just wish our government supported them more. I have a son-in-law who was in Iraq.
Oh, really?
And the stories he told me, he doesn't like talking about all this stuff, but
No.
the stories he told me about the equipment that we have that could take care of roadside bombs, but they don't want to spend the money on it because it's too expensive. You know,
Yeah.
they're looking at soldiers as being more expendable, you know, less expensive to take care of a couple damaged soldiers or whatever, you know,
Right.
than it is to invest in this equipment.
Yeah.
And I think that's ridiculous. They
Yeah.
treat it like a business
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah,
You know?
I think so too.
You either send people in and you take care of them, or we don't go.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You know.
Exactly, yeah. So you think he was for better or worse president?
George?
Yeah.
George Bush? He was all right.
He was
He was
all right.
okay. Yeah, he was all right. I know that, like I said, his big thing, I think from day one, he was going to look at Saddam Hussein.
Yeah.
And I just think that was probably
That was his
his
main
major
goal.
focus.
Yeah.
Yep. Now his father, when in the first Gulf War, the troops, you know, the Iraqis were retreating, and we had gotten them out of Kuwait, and there was the main highway from Kuwait to Baghdad, and our guys just annihilated,
Oh, wow.
you know, on that highway. It was
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have gone right to Baghdad, right then. But George Bush said, first George, he said, our goal, you know, supported by the United Nations, was to
Yeah.
get Iraq out of Kuwait.
Yeah.
So he stopped.
Yep.
Stopped right there. But then again, you know,
Huh.
I think I'm glad he did, you know.
Yeah.
But,
So that's good.
yeah.
So what do you think about Obama now?
What do I think about Obama?
Do you think that this is gonna?
I think we spent, you know, we have spent way too much money.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
You know, I know we're in a recession,
Yeah.
you know, but I believe that you could take care of things without, I mean, now, okay, we spent way too much the last few years, now we're trying to cut back.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and even in cutting back, we're gonna have to raise the debt ceiling. I mean, I think long-term, trying to recover from this is gonna be more harmful than the gains we got by the American Recovery Act.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the stimulus money that they said was gonna, you know, boost the economy.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
But ARRA, ARRA is the acronym for that.
Yeah.
American, two R's. One's recovery. I can't remember what the other R is.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I think that's going to be harder for us to recover from than coming out of a recession
Right,
with so
right.
much. They just spent so much money, and you know.
Yeah. So.
So okay, I like him. I think he's well spoken.
Yeah. Think he's gonna help us, or think we're gonna go downhill? Not really sure yet.
I think the spending, like I said, the spend. I think
Spending.
that's going to be the thing that
Yep,
that
that's
hurts
the
us
main
and makes
thing,
it worse.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Is that all that spending is going to be so hard to recover from?
Yeah.
You know, and all we're doing is passing trillions of dollars down the line. You
Yeah.
know, and that's
Yeah,
got to
we're
stop.
we're
I
in
mean,
debt quite a bit.
yeah, people, and I think, you know, bigger problem than the president is the people.
Yeah.
Is the people that expect to be taken care of.
Yep.
You know, and you know, we're all contributing to retirement plans that, you know, hopefully going to take care of us and down the road, government sponsored retirement plan. You know, so there is this expectation
Yeah.
that something's going to be there, but at the same time, we can't support, like the government can't support tens of millions of people.
No. No.
You know, they can sit
definitely.
home and watch cartoons.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you don't get a paycheck.
Yeah, I
I
know.
think that's ridiculous.
I think that's ridiculous too.
And we've
Yeah.
got a lot of people who do that.
Oh, tons.
You know,
and tons.
they stand up and go, oh, I hurt my back, I can't work.
money, please.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I just think that's
It's
wrong.
like, what?
Help people, there's all sorts of, there are people who simply cannot take care of themselves.
Right.
And we need to take care of them.
Yes,
But
but
people who cheat,
not good.
too bad.
Yeah, too
Yeah,
bad.
too bad. You had your chance,
Yeah.
I said we really need to cut some of those areas.
I think so
You know,
too.
And I think people who cheat on this end, there's also people who cheat on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
They like the higher income people
Yep.
who,
Yep.
we're being asked now to tighten our belts and contribute to make things better. And
Some people
as
try
long as
to
it's
avoid
fair,
that.
as long as it's fair,
Yeah.
great. But when there's people who don't have to.
Right. Yeah.
It's people who actually pay less, who are actually gonna pay less on
Yeah.
the current plans. And and that whole political process in Washington is irritating me.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans have control now, and they're still playing the same old games that they played when the Democrats had control, It's like, we have to win sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, our side has to win.
Yeah.
It can't be, like Charlie Sheen, we wanna win.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's rather than saying, here's the best path to take,
Yeah.
be willing to compromise without throwing stupid stuff, throwing money, attaching these bills to a big plan, to a
Yeah.
budget plan that is just ridiculous.
Right. Right.
Poor projects.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was it.
Hope that helped.
Yep.
All right. Cool.